Well,
But
speaking of being able
let's
to
not
afford
talk about
things,
that. Yeah.
did you know that half the world now is middle class or wealthier? I was just reading this article on a technology website that I follow, and I thought it was fascinating because, you always hear about these developing countries really struggling, but it sounds like, according to this article, that people are finally pulling out of the poverty spell for the first time since agricultural-based civilization began 10,000 years ago. I thought that was pretty cool.
I think that's awesome. I like history. I really enjoy development of economies and civilizations. And what's really neat about this is look at what happened in the United States and Canada, and I would even say Western Europe. We moved from an agrarian society, especially here in North America. It was very agricultural based. And I would say up to the 30s, 40s, and even 50s. Were there cities? Absolutely. Big cities like Los Angeles and New York City and Boston and Toronto. I mean, these were big cities even 150 years ago. But you look at how many people in North America have moved from farms into the city. Now look at what's happening around the rest of the world. So China, huge migration from rural areas to urban, and it's really hard for them to keep up with the number of peoples. But compare that to what was happening in the United States in the 50s and 60s. It's the same kind of boom as people are leaving the farm. I mean, you and I, Dad left the farm in the late 60s when he decided to go to law school. And I think most people in Canada, the United States, can say either a parent or a grandparent left the farm. Well, we're now seeing that in other parts of the world, including China and India, which are the two most populous countries in the world. And we're seeing it in Africa as well as they move to the massive metropolises like Lagos. And this is a movement that's happening, and it usually brings greater wealth and pulls people out of poverty. As long as our agrarian society can continue to feed us all, and I haven't heard any concerns about that, not since the 80s when everybody was into doom and gloom, I think it's a good thing for the world.
I think it's fascinating. Economics is really interesting that there isn't a limited amount of money out there. It's not like there's, how Bitcoin has a set number of Bitcoin and you can't go any more than that. I mean, you can make money out of nothing. It's fascinating that people are pulling themselves out of poverty, and there's not some set amount of money out there, that people are being successful and thriving in all kinds of economies.
What I love about it is the whole interconnectedness of everything. Now, some people will argue that can be bad too because it breeds homogeny, where everybody starts looking and acting the same and enjoying, wearing blue jeans and listening to country music. Not that I Swedish country music, I admitted I like a couple songs there last week. But it can breed a homogeny. But at the same time, that interconnectedness is pulling the world up by the bootstraps, and the rest of the world can enjoy a lot of the comforts and luxuries that the West has enjoyed for so long. And I feel like it's a bit of leveling the field, but it's not a leveling of the field as in the West is being drawn down. It's the rest of the world that's coming up. And now look at what we're going to be able to do as globalization improves and we become more interconnected in these growing economies. I think it's just going to be good for the rest of the world.
Well, an interesting tie into technology is as technology advances, what's going to happen? Are we going to have more time on our hands to be creative? Will we have more time to be artistic? Is it going to be like Rome and ancient Greece, where they had time to make these beautiful paintings and statues? Are we going to spend more time on the arts, or are we going to still focus on the STEM, science, math, technology? It's interesting to see those shifts and to see how society changes as people become more middle class and upper class.